Wednesday. Welcome to the Jamaica Basketball Project. I'm Rick Turner, head Jamaica national basketball team. Thanks for hanging out tonight, joining us on the live stream. Also, thanks for picking us up on the replay. If you're doing so, feel free to jump in and make comments at any time, ask questions, and we'll try to take your questions. We do this throughout this episode, if you will, this COVID-19 thing, as just kind of giving us something to do to fill the void and let everyone know what's going on with Jamaica basketball and talk some hoops and just have a good night in basketball and meeting some people that are involved in the program or who were previously involved in the program, or like we had on Monday, someone like ESPN's Jay Billis, who knows a lot about what's happening in college basketball, and he filled us in on some Jamaican players that might be eligible for the draft, this upcoming NBA draft, whenever that happens. So that was great for him, and we thank him for that. And again, thank you for jumping on with us. I'm going to bring in my counterpart here, live from his basement, I think. And he's with the AirPods now. He's on the AirPods and just looking good, ready to go here on a Wednesday night. Mr. Mialovic, how you doing? Did you breathe in? I told you this morning, you just got to bring it into your lungs. Suck it in and feel good about
things. Yeah, things. It's been nice around here with the weather being nice, but today it changed. It's been raining all day, so we moved to the completely indoor quarantine here in the greater Seattle area.
Inside when it's raining outside. So, Rich, I'm really excited to welcome our guest today. And for those of us, we have people that are Sonic fans among, my group of friends that are interested in this live stream, and people kind of within my circle of Seattle folks and whatnot, to go along with the Jamaicans that are interested in what we're doing, and we welcome everybody. We want everyone to be on board with this, but we do have a group of Sonic fans, and I don't think there's any question that if and when the Sonics come back, that number 40 will be retired in the rafters of whatever new arena that is. I'm fairly certain about that, and don't you feel the same?
Absolutely. I mean, 40 all the way. I mean, yeah.
So I could not be more excited than to have number 40 from the Seattle Supersonics. There he is, Russ Schoene, joining the live stream. Russ, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Great.
You are the number 40 for the Sonics, right? There are no others.
I am the guy that had the privilege of selling that number to Sean Kemp when I left town. So I made big money on that number.
Yeah, I'll bet you did.
Kids.
Is there any way
I used to tell the kids? So
yeah, is there any way we can convince him to put a slash mark and have it read Kemp Schoene when it goes up into the rafters?
He's a nice enough guy. He might consider that.
Yeah, he probably would. He is a pretty good guy. Well, how you doing, man? How are you dealing with this whole shut-in, lock it down sort of deal? How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing okay because I'm able to get out and check on our projects as an essential service to the company, just to make sure things are locked down and nothing's missing, and so I'm able to get out of the house and
well, that's good.
Get out there at least and not feel cooped up all the time.
Yeah. So real estate now, just to catch people up, along with helping out with the Jamaica National Program and helping me out, you're also doing some real estate.
Yeah, I've got a real estate license, but I work for a company, work with a gentleman that has both a real estate company and a construction company. So I'm less of a real estate agent now than I am a project manager and a site supervisor on some of our construction jobs and remodel.
Yeah.
So we have going, but it's both. It's both.
Yeah. Well, cool. Thanks for hopping on with this, doing this thing with me tonight. And you and I have been kind of together for a while with this basketball thing, probably since, I don't know what, 97.
97, I believe.
Yeah, 97. And I've leaned on you a lot throughout my coaching career, and when we haven't been coaching together, you've been off doing other coaching things, the University of Washington, among some others, and working for the NBA. And I'm just super excited to have you a part of this Jamaica thing. And so, yeah, just looking forward to it. Are you as well?
I sure am, and yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. It was fun getting together this summer with you guys and getting my feet wet with it all. And it's the kind of thing that a basketball guy would be happy to be a part of.
Yeah.
It's fun to be on the court with players, working with guys, and getting that hoop fix since I can't anymore.
Man, we've talked a little bit about it. I've geeked out once in a while, sitting at a bar with you and trying to get you to talk about old basketball stuff. And it's really not that difficult to get you going on it, but pretty mellow when it comes to this stuff and your background. And I just kind of wanted other people, especially those that are watching in Jamaica that are part of the program, to kind of understand where you've come from. And I guess, when you look at an NBA career drafted by the Philadelphia 76ers on a team that had Mo Cheeks, Dr. J, Moses Malone, Bobby Jones, Andrew Toney, that's a pretty good place to get your professional career started.
No question. And coming from where I did, I mean, I came out of high school with 2 junior college offers, made it to Philadelphia by way of Mineral Area Junior College and UT-Chattanooga. And then, playing on a team, playing with a group of guys that are considered one of the top 10 teams of all time, that 82 Sixer team, and got minutes. That's the biggest thrill, is I can say, yeah, I wasn't not only on the team, but I got minutes, and I'll always have that, and then got a little story that I was, if you don't mind, we were on a plane during exhibition season, and every now and again, Dr. J would pull a player next to him on the flight, a young guy, and talk to him, and he had me sit down next to him. I don't even know where we were going, and he must have talked to me for about 15 or 20 minutes, but the problem, I don't remember any of it, because the problem is that he started off with, "Hey, Russ, I got to tell you, you remind me a lot of myself." And that's all I heard.
Yeah,
I didn't hear another word the man said. He might have had the greatest advice in the world for me, and all I could do at the end of it all was nod and say, "Thanks, Doc, man, I appreciate it." But I don't have a clue what he said, because that's all he needed to say. That's all I heard, man. So that's my Dr. J story.
Yeah, I love you like a brother, and I completely respect you as a player and what you've done. But having watched you, Dr. J never came to mind when I watched you play.
Exactly. Maybe it was coming from a kind of a mid-major college or something, or I don't know. I have no idea how he linked that.
Right.
I was in a fog after that.
Yeah. Want to say hi to Daphne and Joel, who are both watching. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Go back a little bit, because that's a pretty cool story. Number one, being drafted by the Sixers and on a team like that. But, you know, did you watch The Last Dance on Sunday, the Jordan thing?
I watched it, yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
It's just hard to believe that Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team as a sophomore.
Oh, it's funny. I was watching that with my daughter, and I had to tell her that, yeah, I didn't make the team my sophomore year either as on varsity. I was added to the roster at the end of the season when we went into the state playoffs, but I did not make the team, the varsity team, as a sophomore at the beginning of the season. So, you know, I know exactly how that feels, and it's just crazy. A guy of his talent.
Yeah.
You know, because for me, I was still at that time. I was about 6'2". I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah. So you had a late growth spurt.
Yeah, I did. I lost you. I lost the audio there for a second, but yeah, I grew all throughout high school, and I grew after high school. So as a sophomore in high school, I was probably 6'1" or 6'2", and not that great a basketball player. But you think of a guy like Jordan, who a year later, you know, goes to North Carolina's camp because someone told them there was a player that they ought to look at, and they decided he was the best player in the country a year after he doesn't make the team. You know, so now that makes more sense. Story.
I wonder who that high school coach is.
Well,
where is he now?
So, for geeky hoop fans like me, I don't know whether you fall into this category, Rich, or not, but you went to Mineral Area College, which was kind of featured in the movie Hoop Dreams.
It was,
and
yeah.
You lived in that dorm.
One of the players went down there, and they actually, the house they showed in the movie was the house that we lived in. It was brand new my freshman year. And actually, when he walked down the hall, as I'm watching the movie, he walked down to the end of the hall and took a right and went to the bed all the way by the window, and that's where I slept my freshman year.
Yeah, that's
oh
funny.
my God.
Yeah, it was crazy just watching that movie, and the house is no longer there. I was down there about a year ago, and it's long since gone. The players live on campus, and they didn't have any on-campus housing at the time, but now they do. So that's long gone. But it was a brand new place that for 8 full scholarship players that my coach had built, had the boosters got together, and he put some money together and built they just called it the basketball house, because that's where the scholarship basketball guys lived, and then we supplemented the team. He supplemented it with partial scholarship guys and walk-ons.
Yeah. So how did you end up at Chattanooga? Did you have a lot of choices out of Mineral Area, or was it kind of limited? Or in Chattanooga was what you really, fell in love with? How did you end up there?
I pretty much had every Division II school in the Midwest interested. I could have gone to any number of Division II schools in the Midwest. I had the only Division I interest I had was UMass, which was kind of funny because that's Dr. J's alma mater. But UMass was there. A little bit of interest from Nebraska, UT-Chattanooga, and Eastern Illinois, which was still Division II, but we're going to be Division I my senior year.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided that I wanted to see if I was a Division I player. I didn't want to look back 20 years later wondering if I could have played, against the advice of my junior college coach and my high school coach, who had also played at Mineral Area for that same coach. He was their first All-American, and they both that Paul Lusk was his name, and they both said, go D2. That's where you're going to be. You're a good fit. That's where you'll be comfortable. That's your level. And I was thinking, man, I don't know. I want to see if I can play. And UMass they were coming off an 0-21 season, and I was not interested in something like
wow.
Nebraska. I didn't really think I was, a Big Ten player, or might have been Big 8 at that time, but I didn't know if I was a Big Ten player. And actually Washington State was kind of there with George Raveling, but I really was apprehensive about the Pac-10 or Pac-8, whatever it was. But then UT-Chattanooga and Eastern Illinois were interesting because they were smaller schools, and I wound up at Chattanooga because they were already D1, and their head coach was there recruiting me while the assistant from Eastern was there. So that's how I wound up at UT-Chattanooga, just wanting to give D1 a go. See if
Hey, our says, hey, Coach Russ.
Hey, Justin.
Yeah, he could play. So you go to Chattanooga, and not a long line of NBA players coming out of Chattanooga.
No, but there was an NBA player out of Mineral Area before me, Sonny Parker, Jabari Parker.
Oh, really?
Played for he played for the same coach I did. He was at Mineral Area. And
did you then play like in the All-Star games, like Portsmouth or any of the? How did you get?
Yeah, the interesting thing coming out of UT Chattanooga was that we played the NCAA tournament in Indianapolis against NC State in the first round, which we beat, and then we played in the second round against Minnesota and lost at the buzzer. And Billy Packer was doing the game, and he was college roommates with Pat Williams, the Sixer GM.
Mm-hmm.
So he's the one that put the bug in their ear about me.
Oh, cool.
Maybe take a look. And then, but from the NCAA tournament, then I was able to get invited to Portsmouth Invitational with all the seniors, and I played well enough there to be invited as an alternate to the Aloha Classic in Hawaii, where some player got sick and couldn't go, and I was offered his spot, and I wound up doing well, playing well there, and then I played in the East-West game as well. I was on Bobby Knight's team down at the Final Four, at Tulane. I was in the East-West game that year, and so this kind of happened after the season, but I think it was triggered by the NCAA performance and Billy Packer kind of taking notice.
Yeah.
And I played well when I had to play well. I got lucky and got a break, and then I played well in those senior all-star, I played well, and I moved up from 4th or 5th round into the 2nd round.
So our paths thankfully cross because of trade between the Pacers and the Sonics that sends John Long to the Pacers, I believe, if I'm right, and then you and Tim Stansberry back to the Sonics. And it's funny because I spoke with Kevin Calabro last week on this live stream, and that was one of the first teams that we talked about. It was early in his career, and of course it was X and Dallas and Tom Chambers, but team, man, there was if you want to call it junkyard dogs, that it was Bernie Bickerstaff as the coach. It was a pretty crazy team, wasn't it?
There were a lot of, and there was even a game on the other night, NBA Classics, where it was a double overtime win against Houston in the playoffs, and that's one of the things they talked about were all the guys from the CBA and all the guys from I think it was over half the team was new. It was the year after they traded Sigma to Milwaukee and kind of cleaned house and brought in a bunch of guys, and a lot of us were unknowns, or like Maurice Lucas, who was kind of he was toward the end of his career, and Clem Johnson toward the end of his career, but there were guys like Danny Young and Nick McMillan was a rookie, and
Russ, my guy was Kevin Williams on that team. Remember
who?
Kevin Williams. Oh
yeah, he was the guy I couldn't think of. Yeah, he was another CBA guy that I asked Tom Newell. It was funny because I asked, but as if I was had a solidified spot or something. But I was wondering, like, this guy's kind of crazy. Is he going to make the team? And Tom said, well, yeah, Bernie loves him. So I'm like, okay, Kevin, be there.
So I'm going to show you a picture which I think sort of typifies that team. It also will probably bring back a memory. But do you remember this? Remember this?
I do. Yeah.
That was a different NBA back then.
I remember. I was. Let's see, that one. I can't remember if I was on the court on that one. I was on the court on another one when if you got in the fight, you were getting immediately thrown out. So you had to weigh it out to see how far it was going to go before you jumped in.
Did they have that rule if you left out? That wasn't the rule then, right?
What?
If you left the bench, you'd be kicked out.
Yeah, if you left the bench, you were kicked out. If you were on the court, you could get involved, but you couldn't escalate it. But you could get involved, but if you left the court or left the bench, you were kicked out for sure. So I remember standing there with we were playing against I think it was Portland later on. Richard Anderson, who was with Houston in that game I was talking about in the playoffs. He was later with Portland, and we were standing out there next to each other late in the game, and we were kind of talking. Well, if this thing goes any further, we're gonna have to start swinging on each other,
Yeah.
Just to see. We didn't know how far that fight, the altercation was going on, how far it was going to go.
I've heard really good things about X-Man, Xavier McDaniel. I've always heard he's a really good guy, and he was such a badass.
He's a great guy. He's a super guy. He's just one of those guys that you don't want to make mad.
Yeah. What was he like off the floor?
What's that?
What was he like off the floor?
Oh, just a super guy, just a regular guy to hang out with.
Yeah.
I didn't hang out with him a lot off the court, but anytime I did, he'd go out of his way to make sure you were enjoying yourself, and he's a good guy.
I'm going to show you one more picture, and the only reason I'm showing this picture is because if we have young people watching this, they might appreciate this a little bit. This is ended up with Michael Thompson, and someone may say, well, okay, well, who's Michael Thompson? Well, Michael Thompson, number one, is Bahamian and is from the Bahamas. But two, most people will know him as Klay Thompson's dad, and a pretty good player in his own right.
Yeah, no question. He was a good player and had a lot of battles against that guy.
Yeah. So Bob Whitsitt is quoted as saying that your career in Europe, in Italy, you were the Michael Jordan of Italy. And those are Bob Whitsitt's words. And I'm not going to ask you whether that's true or not, but you had an outstanding career, great run in Italy. And so often I think people think if you don't have a great run or long tenure in the NBA, that you're somehow a failure. Not you personally, but you can really have a great career over in Europe, and you showed that.
You can have an unbelievable career in Europe and never play in the NBA.
Yeah.
And a very successful, very lucrative career.
Yeah.
Lucky enough to go to play in both leagues, but I was also fortunate to be in Milan. My first 2 years over there, I was on the best team. with an American coach and an American point guard playing as an Italian, Mike D'Antoni, and we had great success, and I had success on that team, and that's what led to my popularity in Italy, was that I was a prominent player on the best team in the country. We won 2 championships in those 2 years, 2 Italian League championships. The first one was with Joe Barry Carroll, his holdout year. But oddly enough, we carried him he was so far out of shape. We carried him for about 4 months.
Yeah.
And once he got in shape and started playing, then nobody could do a thing with him.
Yeah.
We basically.
Can you hear me, Russ? Can you hear me, Russ?
Yes, I can.
Hey, oh wait. So what was Joe Barry Carroll? Was he toward the latter part of his career at the point, or was he right in the middle of it?
He was holding out for. Basically, he was being paid, I think, $200,000 a year at Golden State, and he was asking for $1 million, and they wouldn't give it to him. So.
He said, "I'll go play overseas."
I'm sorry, he was asking for about $750, and they wouldn't give it to him. He went to Italy for a year, sat out that season, went to Italy, came back, and they ended up signing him for $1 million. And
this is what happens when you get older, because all these I'm thinking about you playing for the Sonics and thinking about some of the players that we're talking about. It doesn't seem. I mean, it's not that long ago, but when you start thinking about how long ago, you're like,
he was about
it's a
he
while
was
ago.
2 years older than me, so he was probably about 26 at the time. So he was in his prime.
Okay.
And came back and got the big contract then with Golden State, and then played out the rest of his career. And then I went back for a second year in Italy and in Milan, and the headlines were that Milan can't win without Joe Barry Carroll. And that was only because someone told me what the headline said. They said we couldn't win without Joe Barry Carroll. And that night we were in Rome, and we were playing against the Italian national team in an exhibition game, and 3 of our starters were on the national team. So we had our new American was a guy named Cedric Henderson who left Georgia early as a sophomore because he had got into academic problems or whatever. So he came over, about 6'9", super athletic kid, myself, Mike D'Antoni, and our bench. And we ran the Italian national team out of the gym in the Coliseum there in their basketball Coliseum in Rome. Beat them 25, 30 points. And the next day headline was,
nice.
Milan will win the championship.
That had to feel good.
We were missing our big man, and we were missing 2 of our guards starters that were playing on that we played against tonight. And
Russ, I was looking around for pictures to show and of what your career, and I found this picture, and you're a pretty low key guy. I haven't seen this kind of emotion since we used to beat the crap with Zuriel Jones and Brian Daly, and after in our 3-on-3 games after practice. You're pumped up right here.
Yeah,
what team is it?
And I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to our good buddies Eric Sherman and Coach Harold.
For sure.
Sherm sent me a text today. Wanted everybody to know that he's the only guy under 6'10" that ever blocked my shot, and I had to qualify it and remind him that he's the only white guy under 6'10". He got blocked plenty of times by but that was a year. That was my last year in Italy. I was in Bologna, and that was my 3rd championship, and I was kind of at the end of my career. My back was giving me trouble, and I was probably just feeling good that game, that I was healthy.
Yeah. So everyone knows the kind of success that Coach D'Antoni's having in Houston, and the whole small ball thing, which they really cranked up this year after trading Clint Capella away Do you keep in touch with him? I imagine you, if not, I'm sure he's pretty busy, but I imagine you at least follow them and follow the successes that he's having, and they're having a quite a run in Houston, huh?
Yeah, and I do keep in touch with him, not as often as I'd like to, but I didn't get a chance to talk to him since the small ball thing, because that's right about the time I took off for about 2 weeks and went over to visit my daughter overseas when she was playing. She's playing over there, and I got back and talked to him, and we were going to meet up in Portland. In the middle of March, they were going to be in Portland, and then the game got canceled. It was right when they started canceling stuff, and so I have not gotten a chance to ask him about how it's going with how it was going with that in the short time that they were playing that way.
Yeah,
but he's not afraid to try something new, as you could see when he first entered the league in Denver, or Phoenix, and Denver. He'll try anything.
So I just thought of this, and I guess I don't have the thought organized in my head, really, the question I want to ask you, but I know for a time when the Sonics were still in Seattle, you were doing work for the NBA, and I don't know what you would call it, maybe an observer, but there's things that I think it's just sort of interesting that people don't know, that the NBA sort of evaluates what happens around the game operations with officials and what players wear on the bench, the uniform code, and you were a guy that did that for some time. Tell me kind of what that was like and what that all entailed.
And the word observer, the name observer, is basically what we were. We were called league observers, and there's one in every city, so there's no travel. You're just working the home games. And I did it also for the WNBA, but for the NBA, they basically are asking you to observe mainly the referees, but also game operations, player comportment, things like, are they chewing gum during the national anthem? And oddly enough, they didn't allow them to have towels over their heads on the bench because they wanted the fans to be able to connect and see their favorite player. Yet the last time I went to a game I don't think it was last season. I think it was the year before when Houston was in Portland, and the players have warm-ups that have hoods on them. So I was kind of blown away by, wait a minute, we were told to watch out whether they had a towel on their head. Now they can put a hood on, but mainly it was as I said, it was to watch the referees. You would chart their calls during the game. You would make notes you would chart every call, and you would make notes on calls that maybe you missed, weren't sure if you saw or had a question on, and then you got a video after the game, and you would then watch the video usually the next day. I would watch the video, and then you could double check the calls. You'd watch it all again, but then you could double check anything you had a question on, and or anything you thought that you might have missed live. And then you would evaluate each call in different, and the referees in different categories, and you would submit a report. And they discontinued that about 3 years ago with the WNBA, and obviously I stopped doing it when the Sonics left town for the NBA. But I think they do it now all on video, I think. But with the WNBA, it was strictly referees. It wasn't all the rest of it for like how loud's the music in the arena. That was one of the things with the NBA, and whether or not there was, you had to report any fights or altercations, things like that. But with the WNBA, it was just referees.
Did players or officials get pissed off at you after you'd report them?
You weren't supposed to have any contact with the officials, but sometimes I actually had to go to the officials' locker room and wait for a video because I'd have a portable hard drive that I would give a ball boy, and run that back, and they had to get it copied in the referee's locker room. So sometimes
Oh, wow.
who you were, and you came face to face with them. But then later on, I made a connection with the team, and I'd get DVDs instead.
Yeah.
And, then I didn't have to come in contact with the referees at all. But I don't know. I never even got feedback on the job. I was told that as long as they hire you back the next year, they liked what you did. And
Oh, wow.
but I never got any feedback on how I was doing. After the first couple of years, they would bring us all out to New Jersey at the beginning of the year, and you'd kind of go through a clinic, and they would kind of help you and talk to you about what they were looking for. But then I guess, money got tight or whatever. They just decided it wasn't worth bringing us out. So the last few years, that I didn't have any clue how I was doing, other than they'd call me the next year and ask if I was ready to go.
Somehow I don't believe money got tight in the NBA.
I don't know what it was, or maybe we were at that point just for show, and they weren't really looking at our reports. I don't know.
Yeah, more like the bar bill got too big or something.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons why I love coaching with you is because you're such a good teacher of the game, and you have such a diverse background. I would say, a popular term now is the stretch four, right? Like every team feels like they have to have a stretch four. And you might have been kind of one of the first stretch fours that didn't have that label. Wouldn't you say you're sitting down in a chair? For those that don't know, Russ is 6'10", or somewhere an inch on either side of that, and you made your money from the outside, but you could also play inside. So you're able to coach both in the post and on the wings and footwork, and I love that about you. But would you say that you were kind of one of the first guys that stretched the defense out like that?
I believe so. There were a couple of guys. Richard Anderson, who I mentioned from Santa Clara, was a guy like that. Richard was a little better on the interior than I was. I was probably a little better on the perimeter. But then Chicago had Brad Sellers, who was a guy like that. I think part of it was, and I used to joke about it with another former Sonic, Rich King. But part of it is what I learned when I was in Italy. It's a lot of how European bigs play, but also, like I joked with Rich when he made a comment that he wished he could play like me. He was the kind of guy that I think would have liked being on the perimeter a little more. And I used to laugh and say, Rich, if I could play like you, I wouldn't be playing like me. It's not a necessity. I'm trying to keep a job. If I was a big dude that could play in the paint all the time, I'd have a 15-year NBA career because I've got 6 fouls to give, and I'm never gonna and I'm not gonna wear my body out, or at least my lower body, because I'm just in the paint all the time. Mm-hmm. So I adopted that style of play to try to find a place in the NBA. Yeah. Because at my size, I wasn't.
Well, do you think
in the paint? So, but I could shoot.
But you said you grew late. You said you grew late, though, right?
I did. I played my senior season in high school at about 6'5", graduated, a few months later at about 6'6", and then grew 4 inches after high school. And
so as you were playing in youth basketball, were you playing more? As a you weren't playing as a big guy, right?
There was no youth basketball. No, I was playing. I was playing in the middle in high school. Luckily, I played more of the big forward in high school because I played with a shorter teammate that had to be closer to the basket, and he was pretty dominant. So I was able to step out, 15, 18 feet and play more of a forward spot. But But I wasn't, not only was I 6'5", but I was about 180 pounds. Then
Yeah.
a year later, I'm a freshman in junior college, and I'm 6'8", and I'm 210, and I can actually bench my weight finally. So I not only I got stronger, I got bigger, but in high school, I
Yeah.
my weight. I mean, but I was a gifted basketball player. I had skill. I could handle the ball. I could shoot it. I knew how to play.
Yeah.
I just couldn't always impose my will, based on my physical size, like you'd think a 6'5" kid in high school could do.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I was super excited to get you down to Jamaica last summer, and you came down and the Star Search camp, and you got thrown into the fire immediately, and just kind of want to get your thoughts on kind of your first impressions of Jamaica basketball, and what you saw and what you enjoyed about the camp, and yeah, just where you are in that regard.
My first impression is that my initial thoughts were solidified, and that you are dealing with some great athletes. I know we were dealing with a lot of younger kids, but I thought maybe they'd be a little more advanced basketball wise, but I knew that we'd have kids that could run the floor and have the athleticism that you like basketball players to have. But I was totally impressed by the enthusiasm of the kids and the coaches, and how excited they are about American style basketball, NBA, and American colleges, and then the day we went over to the to what you wouldn't even call it the projects. It was worse than the ghetto. What was that place? Back to
Magic, yeah, back to Magic.
Yeah, and the enthusiasm of those kids. I mean, those kids, they were having as much fun as if they were in suburban America. I mean, they were young enough to be at least a little naive of the daily struggles that their parents must go through. But man, they were enjoying themselves and had a blast, and have a chance to play some basketball games and dribbling races and shooting contests and things like that. That the enthusiasm for the game there is certainly at a high level.
Yeah. I'm going to try to play this video and see what it does to our audio, so bear with me just a second here. Can we talk over this? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yep.
Cool. So this is the video that you were talking about. Or this is the place you were talking about, Majesty Garden. And I had Coach Plank on our second episode, Coach Kyle in Michigan. And we talked about this a little bit as well, how we went down there, Russ, and you remember this. We walked onto the court, and there was broken glass all over the court. There was about 5 kids maybe shooting baskets. There were no nets on the rims, or maybe one was like torn.
Right.
And within probably 5 minutes or less, there was like 70 kids out of nowhere, pouring out of the homes and apartments and everything around there. And the local league there has teams kind of named after the little area. So one team will be called Board House. Another team would be called New Building. Another team would be Broken Pipe or whatever. And they just are so passionate and love basketball. And for me going there for 20 years and then being able to share that with you in the first year, that was one of the more special times I remember going down.
Yeah, it was definitely, because it gave you a lot of perspective when you look around that court and you see the corrugated metal buildings and wooden shacks and cardboard as part of the structure, and the soccer field next door being used as a goat, pasture, and yet, then the kind of thing you see in magazines and in documentaries, basically. And then you see these kids, and like you said, they come out, and the littlest ones didn't have shoes, most of them, and the court's got gravel on it and glass, and they're out there barefoot, and they're in these relay races, and it blew me away. They're in these relay races, and they're just flying up and down the court barefoot, and not one of them tripped and fell. They're running over gravel and they're running as fast as they can. And I'm thinking, if one of these kids goes down, it's going to be ugly. Used to playing there that number one, their bottom of their feet have to be like leather, and they're just so used to it that they didn't need shoes.
Yeah.
They didn't need shoes.
Yeah. I can tell you that's one of the things that so attracted me to taking this challenge on and being a part of it, was that I know that basketball is a passion for so many kids down there, and the sky's the limit for their ability. It's just providing opportunity and finding places for them to play, and finding more infrastructure and organization, and ultimately, and you're on board with this. Our goal, and we want to say it out loud as much as possible, our goal, the 2024 Paris. And we've got a great group of American coaches and a freaking awesome group of Jamaican coaches. And as we're going here, I'm having more conversations with more people that are involved with basketball in Jamaica that want to be on board and want to be part of it. And we want to bring everyone along with it. And I think it has a chance to be a really cool ride. I was telling someone earlier today that I was in Kingston in Halfway Tree in 2016, I believe, during the Rio Olympics. And I should upload that video at some point and show it on here. But I was in Halfway Tree during Usain Bolt's final 100-yard dash run. And the place went ape nuts. And it was so cool to be a part of and see and experience just the pride, the pride in country and the flags and everyone excited. And I thought to myself at that point, if I ever get the chance to be involved in this is what I want to contribute to the Jamaican people. And I'm glad that you want to be a part of it, because I think you're going to play an important role in helping us to make that happen.
Oh, most definitely looking forward to it. And I remember you telling that story. And like I said, it's a fix. It's you got to be involved in basketball, and I've never been involved at this level before. So this is something new. I'm not working at the high school level at this point, and I'm never. I won't be pursuing any college opportunities for sure. But this is something that I can't imagine the feeling when we make it there.
Yeah,
it's going to be. I'm and I know that I'll be in probably some kind of support role. But even if I'm 2 rows back, watching the team and kind of standing up and leaning in as close as I can to a timeout or something, that'll be good enough.
Yeah.
That'll be fun to be a part of something like that. At that level on the world stage, and that would be incredible. And I'm looking forward to the day that we make that happen.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot of people. You know, it's not going to be done by me. It's not going to be done by me and you. It's mostly going to be done by Jamaicans. And like you said, we're going to be do everything we can to support them to put Jamaica in the place where they want to be. I don't want to put you on the spot with, and I certainly don't want you to name names even if you knew, but I sent you a list of guys that are eligible, national team eligible guys that are currently playing mostly overseas. There's, as I explained in one of the, I think episode 5, there's kind of 3 lists of guys. There's the Jamaican-born guys that are playing overseas. They're Jamaican-born, but they're playing in a league either in Europe or South America, what have you. Then there's guys of Jamaican heritage who are playing overseas but weren't born in Jamaica, of which you can only have 1 on your roster. And then there's all the many really good local Jamaican players that I don't have the same access to right now. So I sent you a list. Just kind of talk about what you see from that list of guys without necessarily having to name names. And I know I can anticipate one of the things you're going to say is there's a lot of size.
There's definitely a lot of size, but I also saw some swing type players, 6'5" to 6'7", 6'8", guys that can run the floor and shoot the ball a little bit, and some of them can shoot the ball very well, and get out and run and finish. So there are guys to complement those big guys, because the big 3, college guys right now that I guess they're all, one's a senior, right? The other 2 are going to also declare for the draft.
Mm-hmm. And did already.
So and then there's a number of other guys their size that are playing overseas, currently. But it was nice to see that there are some small forward, big guard type guys that have not only those skills and that kind of athleticism, but some good size to go with it. And then I'm going to leave it up to you to find a point guard. But there's some talent, there's athleticism, and there are some guys that are putting up some numbers, overseas. So that was good to see. So
maybe we should call Coach D'Antoni and see we can flip it and figure out a way to play big ball instead of small ball. I think we can do that. We might have to.
Well, if you give him 6'10" guys that can that can shoot like his 6'3", 6'4" guys, he'll do it.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, he'll do it. But he likes to get it down there and get a shot up quick. That's what he likes to do.
Before I let you go, and again, I appreciate you doing this. I want you to just brag for a moment. Your beautiful, talented daughter plays professional volleyball. She got her looks and her athleticism from her mom and her height from her dad.
Exactly.
So brag on McKenna a little bit and tell me what she's doing. I know she's home now, but
yeah,
she's been playing volleyball in Europe.
She made it back. She was in Switzerland last year. My daughter McKenna, she's about a 6'1", right side, outside hitter. Depends on the situation. She can play both sides. She's a hitter. Played her first year in the Czech Republic after college, and then a season in Finland up by the North Pole, and then last year she was in Switzerland over near the French border, and is looking to go back and play again next season, and has some interest right now from teams in Spain, France, Switzerland again, and possibly Finland. So she's having a good time. When she graduated with 2 degrees and just wasn't ready to jump in the job market, and said,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm not done playing. I'd like to live in Europe and travel and have someone pay for it. And
Perfect.
That's what she's doing.
Yeah. So it's like the whole backpacking experience, except for you're getting paid to do it.
Yeah, she's living her dream right now, and she's going to give it at least 1 more year and then reevaluate, and maybe she'll be brushing off that resume next year. Who knows? But she's having a blast, and
Good for her.
team,
Cool.
had a playoff run this year, and that was cool. And so, yeah, she's just looking to play another one.
Good, man. Well, hey, I'm gonna let you go. I gotta wish you a happy birthday, man. It went by me a week ago, and I know I'm not gonna give it away, but it's one of those milestone birthdays, and so
Yeah.
I'm sorry I missed it, but
No
I'm
worries.
for it now. I'm gonna sing, but I'm wishing you a happy birthday.
I don't have to worry for another 10 years on one of those type of birthdays. It's all good.
Cool.
Yeah.
I can't believe you're that old, Russ.
Thank you.
You
You're
look
very
good.
kind.
You look
It's
10
good
years
seeing
younger
you
than
too again, Rich.
Good to see you, Russ.
Yeah.
Can't wait to get started. Thanks for jumping on with this, and I'll talk to you real soon. Thanks, man.
Sounds great. You guys
All
take care.
right, later, Russ.
All right, see
All
you.
right, Rich. Good people right there, and a very good coach.
Can I just say one thing? I like that when he's talking about the same thing that I'm talking about, and I'm just happy to be, your cohort in this and helping however I can, and hopefully being able to bring something to the table. But I love how he talks about picturing being the same way I do, picturing being there, at a game, in 2024, we're in the Olympics, just to be a part, to help be a part of this thing. I think it'd be great. So,
My high school coach, Mike Cashman, who I stay in touch with, a lot, and is a large mentor for me, taught me something in high school about visualization. And, I think it's super important to talk about being in Paris and talk about your goals and visualizing them and thinking what it's going to be like to walk in during the opening ceremonies and thinking about and visualizing, a first round matchup, against Mexico or Spain or,
yeah,
Philippines or whoever it is. And what the crowd's going to feel like and the feel of the basketball and everything that's involved with that. Visualize that stuff, because the more you do that, the more real it becomes. And then when you find yourself in the situation, it's not bigger than you, and you've been there before. And so we keep doing that. I'm going to keep talking about it, and I want everyone that's within the sound of our voice to get on board with it and be a part of it in one way or the other. And we want it to be an inclusive experience, not an exclusive experience. And we want you to be part of the team, and you're part of it and helping me out tremendously, and I appreciate it. Russ is, and we've met a lot of the coaching staff. We still have yet to meet Coach Morgan and Kelly, and we'll get them on here in the coming days, along with some other people. I've got all sorts of suggestions about former Jamaican players and influential coaches to have on, and we're going to do that. So I'm excited moving forward with the live stream, and thanking you for being a part of it, and we'll just keep rolling.
We got to get this COVID thing behind us, and we'll be ready to roll. Let's get back to normal here.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Thanks for jumping on.
You bet. Thanks, RT.
Yeah. And thank you for jumping on. And let's see. Today is Wednesday. Let's shoot for Friday again. 6 or 7 o'clock Pacific. Check Facebook. Check YouTube. I'll have something out on that. Subscribe to the Jamaica Basketball Project YouTube channel, and you'll get updates, and we'll keep growing this thing. And I can't thank you enough for jumping on and just being part of our team. Appreciate it, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much.